Folks ready to get rolling?
Yeah!
I did want to speak a little bit more about the awakening that's happening all over the planet. You know, the alternative media is becoming the mainstream media. It is unseating, according to every metric we've got, the establishment press on the fake left and the fake right all over the planet. And the biggest illustrations of that are the fact that they're trying to inoculate us psychologically so that as this stuff comes out, it isn't a shock. So now they go on CNN and the Associated Press and Fox and go, here's Colonel such and such of the Marines. Colonel, how are you fighting Al-Qaeda? Well, we give fertilizer to the Afghans to grow opium. It's only at over 12 times the previous production, but that's how we fight drugs. We grow them. So it's not just a CIA aircraft now crashing in Mexico with pure cocaine from the source. It's not just congressional hearings about it. Now they just come right out and say, yeah, we're growing the drugs. Just Friday, before I flew out here, I had Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer on. He ran Operation Stratus Ivy and Able Danger. And his white side, not black side or dark side of the military, was actually trying to kill all these Al-Qaeda operatives before 9/11. And they were told, stand down. But I had him on, and I said, do you know about them admitting that our government helps grow the opium? And he said, yeah, I do know about that. And he just said, I don't know what to say. See, they don't know what to say. But the issue is, this isn't 5 years ago or 10 years ago when they said, lunatics like Alex Jones say our government shipping in the cocaine and heroin. The only people they raid are those that aren't paying their cut to them, the small cowboys. Now they go, hell yeah, we grow opium by the megaton and ship it in, but if you're not for shipping heroin into America, you're with Al-Qaeda. I mean, think about it. We have checkmated them to the point that they've got to come right out on the news and say, well, if we didn't grow the opium, Al-Qaeda would. But Al-Qaeda, of course, is Al-Qaeda, one of their creations. And it's just like they have to admit, okay, Operation Northwoods is declassified. The U.S. government planned to stage 9/11 style attacks and crash planes and bomb D.C. and shoot people. And, but that was then, this is now, we wouldn't do something like that. And yeah, we called people conspiracy theorists for 40 years, but guess what? We've declassified it. We did stage the Gulf of Tonkin to get us into Vietnam. And it killed 58,000 Americans and over 1 million Vietnamese and maimed over 250,000 Americans. But that's okay, because if you're not for staging terror attacks to get us into a war, you're not a red-blooded American. So we are now at that point where they can't deny anymore. So they're coming out and saying, yeah, there's trillions of dollars missing the Federal Reserve took, and the Pentagon's missing $4 trillion in the last decade, but let's change the subject to this turban guy. Isn't he scary? Because if you ask us where the $4 trillion is from the Pentagon or the $28 trillion missing the banks took, we're not going to be able to keep you safe. What did Dick Cheney say back in 2004 on Meet the Press? They were saying, Mr. Vice President, there's reports of Al-Qaeda leadership meeting at the White House and other places, and you had foreknowledge. And he said, there will be a nuclear attack in the United States if you don't leave us alone about this and allow us to protect you. Remember what came out last Wednesday? Somebody leaked it to Fox News and the Associated Press, and strangely enough, Fox ran with it, and the Pentagon said, this is terrible. We're going to hunt down who released this information. They admitted it was real. Anwar al-Awlaki, the CIA lackey, to quote Tarpley. No, I mean, look, we already knew this 6-7 years ago. We wrote articles about it. We've been all over Awlaki. And they say, the guy that ran the Christmas Day underwear bombing, the guy that ran the Fort Hood shooting, Major Hassan, the guy that was the #3 in command of 9/11, the guy who was involved in the Times Square attack, yeah, it's true. 2 months after he was the #3 suspect on national news, in plain view of everyone, this is still incredible. It shows how bad we're hurting him. He went to the Pentagon to meet with the Secretary of the Army and the top brass for a celebration. I mean, they had one hell of a celebration on 9/11, didn't they? Just like PNAC documents, Dick Cheney, September 20th, 2000, said, minus a Pearl Harbor event with at least 3,000 deaths to be blamed on foreign countries, we're not going to be able to expand our empire. That's how stupid they think we are. Their hubris, their arrogance, out in the open is what is going to bring them down. So Anwar al-Awlaki, months after he's one of the top 9/11 suspects, is at the Pentagon in a top-level meeting with the head brass, and it's admitted in plain view. And then he runs every single terror attack after that. And you've got terror attacks that are purely staged like 9/11. But you've got other ones in every case. 93, World Trade Center bombing, New York Times, CBS News, where they admit that Ahmad Salam was hired to cook a fake bomb for some Muslim extremist nutcases. And, they got them on all sides. They got black extremists, white extremists, Christian extremists, Buddhist extremists even in that group, Hindu extremists, not many. The point is, they got them all, but they're very rare. It's like finding an Easter bunny. Your mama told you about it, but you don't believe it like Santa Claus. The point is, we're told to give up all of our rights, and in every case, in the case of 93, this is all on record. In fact, it got declassified, the actual audio. We have the articles back in 1993 in the New York Times and CBS, but last year when we were making Visible Empire with Jason Bermas, they had released the actual audio tapes. And so they hire this Ahmad Salam guy, and the FBI says, we're going to cook a fake bomb and set up this mosque with some extremists. Think you can do that? He was a former CIA guy. He says, yeah, I'll set up some extremists. And so they send him in and they say, now we're going to build a real bomb because they need that in court to bust them. Are you good for that? And he said, well, not really, as long as there's not a detonator. He said, I'll build a bomb, a real one, to get them in court because I want to stop these people because he'd been into Egypt fighting them. But he said, you've got to not have a real detonator. And they said, absolutely no real detonator, Mr. Ahmad Salam. We wouldn't want to do something like that. Then 5 days before, they said, here's the detonator. And he was an Egyptian bomb expert. And he said, well, this is a real detonator. And they said, well, that's going to help in court. Then 3 days before, he came to him and he said, I don't want to do this. And they said, look, we're going to let this bombing go ahead. This is all, and then he got paranoid. He went, whoa, they're going to frame me for this. So he went into the FBI and recorded more than 12 hours of them telling him, go ahead with it. And they were going to bomb the World Trade Center. Now, this is on record. The tapes are released. Just like Anwar al-Awlaki is at the Pentagon 2 months after with the head brass in a secret meeting. He's already on the news as the #3 in Al-Qaeda. He's at the Pentagon. And if you look at everybody Anwar al-Awlaki ran, it's the same story. They go out and find people with low IQs, generally about 80. That's close to mentally retarded. And, literally. They go find people who've already been profiled by the welfare system, and they set them up, or they find mental cases like Hassan. And it came out on mainstream news that Major Hassan at Fort Hood last year, Major Hassan for 2 years was sending emails to Anwar al-Awlaki talking about, I'm going to bomb, I'm going to shoot. And the government protected him and allowed him to do what he did. So they're a real terrorist. But 9 times out of 10, it'd be like if I went down and spent 2 years with some schizophrenic poor homeless person here in Santa Cruz and put them in a house and gave them money and found that one day that they'd go out and shoot some people. Who's guilty? That homeless schizophrenic or the people that got him to do it? Ask me that question. That's an example of how these people operate. That's an example of what they do. That's an example of the operations they run. So it's out in the open, they ship in the drugs. It's out in the open, they're staging the terror. It's out in the open that the banks are robbing us blind. Let's go back a year ago with another one of Anwar al-Awlaki's patsies. I get a call from one of my listeners, Mr. Haskell, Kurt Haskell and his wife, they're lawyers. 2 days after the Christmas Day bombing. 2 days after. 2 days. And he says, Mr. Jones, I was in Europe at the airport, and I was there in Amsterdam, and I saw them bring in Matala, the underwear bomber, and he was disheveled. He looked like he was out of sorts, drugged. And he had no passport. He had no visa. This is on record. After, not at first. Wasn't it on record at first? I get this call. I confirm Kurt Haskell was on the plane with his wife. Later, other witnesses come out. And they describe in Amsterdam, this guy gets bypassed the naked body scanners they already had. He gets through the scanners. He gets through the checkpoint. And he's at the gate and he has no passport, no nothing. And they're saying, we're not going to let this guy on. And a sharp-dressed man came and flashed ID and said, you will let him on the plane. And he was so high authority that they let him on the plane, and the rest is history. He had a firecracker in his pants. So now we've all got a naked body scan, supposedly. Then the FBI goes to Kurt Haskell's office and tells him, you didn't see that, it didn't happen. There was a lot of other stuff on the plane. But it's a long story we've covered on the radio. And for 2 months, they lied and said that Kurt Haskell wasn't telling the truth. Then more witnesses from the plane came forward and said they saw it. And the Undersecretary for Visas, #2 position in the State Department, Kennedy, went public and said, yeah, an unnamed U.S. intelligence agency ordered us to help him get on the plane. You got Anwar al-Awlaki at the Pentagon after 9/11, the mastermind. You got him running the underwear bomber, and you've got the State Department being ordered to get him on the plane. We have these people. And the issue is, why they're scared, is they can't cover this up anymore. They can't shut down all the alternative media. They can't shut you up. And they know that this is happening. They're aware of that. So what do? 4 months ago, Spy Talk, weekly column, written by a former CIA agent, Washington Post. They have a 5-page article where they say the CIA fakes Bin Laden videos, but it's patriotic. Those videos you saw were fake, but it's patriotic. They have news articles where, yes, the government ships the drugs in, but you don't want the criminals getting the drugs, do you? They come out, yeah, the Gulf of Tonkin was staged, yeah, we did this, yeah, we did that, in an attempt to take our power of disclosure away. But it doesn't work. See, before they could tell you, there's no world government, there's no CFR plan to bankrupt the world economy and call for a global currency that's backed up by carbon taxes. But Dr. Stan Monteith 48 years ago didn't care if they laughed at him. I didn't care 15 years ago if they laughed at me. You didn't care if your neighbor last week laughed at you. We told the truth. We're here in the open. We're going to tell the truth, and it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. We're not going away. And you can kill me, you can kill this guy, or you can kill her, but you can't get us all. And we're not going to stop, and we're not going to shut up, and we're not going to go away.
Amen!
And that's why I say, in resistance is victory. If your cause is right, doesn't mean we're 100% right. We're going in the right direction. If you're looking for the truth and you don't shut up and you never quit and you can't be shut down and you don't care what people say to you and you never go away, nothing on earth can stop you, and that's why they're scared of you.